Back on Closer Look on this 15th day of July, 2025. It's Tuesday with Michael Friscolanti, fresh off of 2 weeks holidays. I'm Scott Sexsmith. We missed you. It's good to have you back.
I did not miss you at all.
That's hurtful, man.
I did miss you. I did miss you. I missed the show, but it was nice to get away for a couple of weeks.
Well, we ended on a bang, right?
Yes, we did. We had our first week. We gave the revamped podcast a chance, as our listeners, some of them will know by now. We've rebranded as Closer Look. It's a new daily podcast here at Village Media. It's going to go Monday to Friday, every night at 7 p.m. So we sort of churned out the product for a week a couple weeks ago. I think it was great. I think it went better. As I told you, I think it went better than I thought it was going to go. It was 5 great guests, really interesting topics. The pace was great. And, I spent the portion of my 2-week holidays just re-examining the footage, really going over it closely.
Yes, 2 weeks examining.
Giving you I wrote a big document giving you a lot of tips to sort of help you out to do a little bit of a better job. But I think it was great. I think it was a good start. We're going to keep going, apparently.
I'm so lucky to have you critiquing my performance and providing such meaningful feedback.
Could you imagine someone critiqued us? We would get killed.
Oh my God, we wouldn't have made it through those 5.
No, it was good. It was a lot of fun. I think we finished the week off with the Stanley Cup champ Jonah Gadjevich, which I thought was a fantastic way to finish the week. And I think there's great things ahead. I think we're going to have a lot of interesting conversations.
Yeah, well, as long as President Trump and tariffs are in the headlines, we'll always have things to talk about.
I know. And the number changes. What is it, this morning? It was 35% tariffs now. And I just before we sat down, Prime Minister Carney talked to reporters about how he doesn't think they'll get a deal done with zero tariffs, that there'll be some kind of tariffs left over. So this continues to evolve by the hour, and people are just kind of, as nervous as ever.
Yeah, came across a great article in New York Magazine written by Simon Van Zuylenwood. Great quote in this. The article is entitled, "You have no idea how furious the Canadians are." Here's the quote. "It takes a special kind of belligerence to piss off the nicest people on the planet. With friends like us," he's an American, "who needs enemies? And if our enemies now include Canada, we probably don't have any friends left at all."
Yeah. It's true. And it's funny, I will go a little personal, but we went to Detroit for a couple of days over holidays to go see a baseball game. I love the Tigers, of course. See a couple games.
12-game lead?
Yeah. And we were really torn about it because it was like, a lot of people are boycotting the United States. You don't want to go there. Mm-hmm. And I felt that way for a long time too, but it's my favorite place on earth. I wanted to go. The kids love it. And I had such wonderful conversations with Americans. Like, I love talking to Americans. That's the way I feel about it. They're our best friends. They're our neighbors. I enjoy chatting with them whenever we're down there and having good conversations. So, it is interesting because the average person I don't think is feeling. I think a lot of people don't have any idea what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So it was a totally uneventful trip, except it was wonderful in every way. There was no issues at all.
And the issue that we have, I think, as Canadians is not with Americans in general. It's with the White House.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I didn't do that, but if you actually asked each of those people if they knew kind of what the details are, they would have no idea what's going on. Yeah. We're on a border town here in Sault Ste. Marie, and even if you go over to Sault, Michigan, even in the weeks leading up to the Trump presidency, him threatening these tariffs, the average person over there had no idea what the kind of impact it was going to have. And it's had a huge impact over there, like all border communities. I don't want to say ghost town, but pretty close, because they're losing a lot of Canadian customers that would cross over the border to eat at the restaurants, to go to the grocery stores, and those kind of things. It's happening. But definitely, I'm sure the tariffs will continue to be a hot topic on this show.
Absolutely. And another hot topic, remote work, hybrid work, and returning to the office.
Yeah, a lot of chatter about that. Some reporting lately that we've been reading. Obviously, with COVID, the whole world went into kind of remote work mode. If you could work remotely, some people couldn't, obviously, with the nature of their work. But a lot of people sort of hunkered down at home for months and months. We both remember that. It was something I don't want to remember. And sort of now that we're way past COVID, a lot of companies are starting to put the pressure on their workers to come back to work. So we're going to have a good conversation about that today.
Joining us tonight on Closer Look is Alex Gallagher, the Managing Director of Engage HR. Alex, welcome to the program. Great to have you here tonight.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay, Alex, let's start pre-COVID, because this is kind of when all of this started. Was remote work even a thing back then, and how widespread was it among employees?
Right. I would say that for the most part, pre-COVID, work from home or whatever you want to call it, was very much not a thing. It was really the exception to the rule. Somebody's sick, don't come to the office, get everybody else sick. I mean, that kind of stuff. So it was not really a very major thing outside of maybe the tech space.
Yeah, and it's funny because Frisco and I were talking about it upstairs before we came down to the studio, and reminisce that, if anybody ever said, "Oh, I'm going to work from home tomorrow," it was almost taboo, right? It was really frowned upon.
Yeah, I mean, what have you got, an appointment? Are you trying to get out early for a vacation? Like, what's going on?
2:15 tea time.
Yeah, that was Scott's excuse for sure. So when COVID hit and the whole world, at least the people who could work remotely, were working remotely, what was your reaction? Did you think, okay, this is obviously crazy times, we have to do this, but did you see it lasting as long as it did? That it would be something that would stick for a long time?
Yeah, no, I think at the start, I would have said, no, this is just us reacting to a global pandemic and we're just doing what we have to do. I think that, we got surprised, right? Because we learned and we got to the place where it was like, hey, you know what? I can do this. And I think a lot of us learned at a really rapid pace. And I can tell you, myself included, I was teaching a course at UOT and all of a sudden, I'm doing it online. So I had to learn a fair bit pretty quickly, including Zoom, the ins and outs and goods and bads and all the rest of it. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's 100% true. And we kind of fell into it in a way, like you just became used to it, that it was normal. I mean, it didn't have the same feel. Did you hit a point where, or you or other people you spoke to, obviously you're in the industry, that they became to prefer it, that it was what they would prefer to be doing?
Yeah, I for sure. And I would say that, that coupled with, housing costs in Canada, right? I mean, just when you put those two together, people started to realize, I don't necessarily need to have, a $1.2 million house in Mississauga. I might be able to get away with, a $350,000 house in Sault Ste. Marie. If my employer is willing to kind of play ball and do something with that. And, what does that mean? What does that mean to my family's finances, retirement, paying down a mortgage, putting kids in school? I mean, all the rest of it, right? So I think that was a big wake up for Canadians.
Alex, let's talk about the financial sector for a minute. The Bank of Montreal requiring 4 days a week in office starting in the middle of September. That will match the Royal Bank of Canada's policy. CIBC has asked investment banking staff back full-time. JP Morgan Canada now with a 5-day mandate. Are Canadian financial services leading kind of a broader return to the office trend, and how are maybe some of the other sectors responding to that?
Yeah. No, I think that the financial service sector for sure is pushing in that direction. And I guess what I would say there is, a lot of the financial services organizations are, to a large extent, customer facing, right? Like if you're dealing with an investment banker and you're going to pay them, several $1 million to put together a financing, you kind of want to see the whites of their eyes and you want to get a firm handshake and all that, right? Like you want to have sit down conversations with these folks. So I would say to you that I think that it really depends on the nature of the job itself and, who your customers are. So if your customers, are going to be better off seeing you, then I get it. It just makes perfect sense, right? And you think about the banks, wealth management, certainly investment banking, retail banking, commercial banking, these are large numbers, right? So I think they really do want to see people.
I guess the question, the real question, the only question that matters is there actually a difference? I know there's reasons that companies would want their employees back at the office, but does it really make a difference? Do employees work better at the office than they do at home?
Yeah. I think that varies by individual. I think it varies by organizational culture, right? Company culture. I think there are very successful organizations that are primarily remote, right? You think about Shopify as an example. They've done pretty darn well with pretty much, remote as the main mode of operation.
Yeah.
I think that, there is something to being, in an office with a team, learning, you get all that kind of anecdotal learning. People are social creatures. People want to be able to have lunch and, do all those good things, right? So there are certainly benefits. The question becomes for a specific organization, trying to focus on specific objectives. is it going to benefit them and outweigh the cost to the employees or the talent who have to then show up and do it, right?
Alex, we saw some data today, and you've probably seen it as well from the Business and Industry Canada, showing that Canadian remote workers are 13% more productive than office workers, leading to savings of about $11,000 per employee annually. So the question is, if that's the case, why mess with what the numbers say appears to be working?
Yeah. So I come back to this idea around corporate culture, right? If you're in a business where, you're under stress, I mean, let's say that, U.S. tariffs or threats thereof are causing you to lose sleep, right? Then, what do you want to do? Well, you want to control as much as you can the variables that are going to go into how you deliver, right? And so I think what you're seeing is a bit of a kind of a reversion to the mean, if you will. Hey, we know this works. It's worked for decades. Let's get there and let's make it work. But I think that the remote work can also work, equally well, and in some cases better even. What employers have to face is, am I going to be able to keep the best talent, right? Like, am I really going to be able to keep the best talent? Because I know I'm biased as an HR guy, right? But talent wins, right? You got the best talent, you're going to win. So I think that's the risk that you run is, how do I keep that talent, right?
So Alex, though, to get the best talent, you've got to be flexible, and flexibility may equate to hybrid or some version of that. That's it.
And if you look at someone who's got a choice between, I'll just pick a $100,000 job where you got to be in office 5 days a week, or you've got a $90,000 a year job and you show up once every couple of weeks for some meetings or something, right? I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, you start doing the math. By the time you commute, buy some lunches, like, is it worth it, right? And people are making those individual determinations all the time.
I think that's what leading to my next question. That's kind of where maybe in 5 years from now, that'll be the issue. That'll be one of the criteria you think about when you're looking for a job. Do I have that remote option? Do I not have that remote option? Is that kind of where you see it as well?
Yeah. And to be honest with you, Scott, I don't think it's 5 years out. I think it's now. I think it's part of the mental math that people are putting into the equation when they consider, do I want to join somewhere? Do I want to stay? Do I want to leave? And it's a big variable, right? It's a huge variable.
What are you seeing in the industries, like Scott mentioned, the financial sector? What are you seeing in the industries where they really are pushing hard to get their employees back to the office 5 days a week? Are you seeing that attrition?
It depends, right? If you want to be an investment banker and all the investment banks are pushing to 5 days a week or something like it, I mean, you're not going to buck that trend and win, right? So you're going to have to, kind of get into it and move on, right? But if you're in an industry where there's flexibility, so we do a ton of work in the insurance space, and the insurance companies have kind of figured out that, they need to figure it out with their folks and come up with what's right for their folks. So what we're seeing there is some insurance companies are 100% remote, right? So they're actually using it as an advantage to get better talent. So it's a pretty wide gambit, I would say. It really depends on the organization, what they're trying to do.
Alex, got to ask, do you work remotely?
Yes. I do work remotely, and our entire team at Engage HR does work remotely. And from anything I've heard, they love it. Now, maybe I'm biased, but it's, when as a consulting house, I mean, we go to clients. Clients want to see us in their office. They don't care where our office is. And we're good with that, right? It makes sense.
You mentioned the housing choice where people might say, hey, I can sell this house for $1 million in the GTA and move somewhere else. That whole issue fascinates me, right? Because that's what we've talked about this the other day. Yeah. That's the one main thing for me that COVID really changed, this idea that I don't have to live in Toronto. Like, COVID kind of has really done a number on the city of Toronto because housing prices have plummeted. Not that you're a real estate expert, but do you feel like that's kind of the new norm now, or is there any way that goes back where people say, no, I do want to be in the big city because of my work, or is that a bygone era now?
No, I don't think it's a bygone era at all. I think that cities offer lots of advantages, right? I mean, you've got the cultural depth, you've got the activities, and all the rest of it. I also think that part of that gets into kind of the generational mixes, right? So I think if I'm earlier career and I want to kind of, bright lights, big city, spend some time in the big smoke, then that's probably pretty attractive. And I mean, we have 2 adult children. We hear this all the time from different folks and their friends, right? So I don't think that this city is off limits at all. There's great attractions, but it's an equation, and I think it depends on probably kind of age and stage, if you will, in terms of career, and whether you've kind of to some extent earned your stripes a bit, right? And maybe the city's a better place to kind of earn your stripes at a more rapid pace, assuming you can afford to pay the rent, right?
Yeah,
that's the offset. Right?
That's the key question. All right, I want to ask this question knowing that our CEO is listening and all the leadership at our company is listening, and a lot of our employees will log on and watch the show as well. What's your biggest advice to a CEO for culture? You're an HR professional, for culture of the company, for making your employees feel valued. What's your number one piece of advice to a CEO?
Yep. So my number one piece of advice is culture can be measured. Measure it. There's tooling available out there. We affiliate to a group called the Culture Factor out of Helsinki, Finland. Get the data and then hone in on what it is that your people actually want and that's going to serve your strategy, right? So get to what's real and stop guessing, quite frankly.
All right, well said. There's Alex Gallagher, the Managing Director of Engage HR. Alex, appreciate your time tonight. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
Are you a fan of remote work yourself?
I'm torn about it.
You did it for a while.
I did. I did. I was one of those people at the very, very beginning years ago when I worked
before it was a thing.
Yeah, when I worked at McLean's, they were very good to me. I was away from home. I was away from the office a lot because I didn't live near Toronto.
Yeah,
and it was great. But I had to go there pretty much every other week, and then I would be here. I'd be away on assignment. And I think it was. I guess you'd have to get my bosses on the show to tell you what they really thought. But I thought it worked well. I did my job. I thought I did it pretty well, and they didn't care if I was living in Timbuktu. But it is a very heated topic, and maybe we didn't get to that as much in the interview as we could have. But it's a big debate. A lot of people think it should not happen. A lot of CEOs, there's some polling out there that more CEOs are against it than they were a couple of years ago.
For sure.
They want their people in the office. They want to be able to walk over to their desk and talk to them. The other issue we didn't talk about, though, is there's also the increased real estate costs. You look at some of these companies that are leasing commercial properties in downtown Toronto, for example. It's a massive cost.
And they're sitting empty.
They're sitting empty, right? It's a massive cost. So these are the things to be looking for in the next little while. But what do you hated it, I think. I remember you saying.
Well, with what we do, right, it's easier to walk down the hall or around the corner and talk to somebody than it is to, hey, you got 10 minutes to hop on a Zoom link or Google Meet link. And I'll tell you what I do miss, taking those calls in shorts.
How do you know we're not wearing shorts right now? You have no idea. There's no. How do you know we're not both working at home right now?
Hey, this could be AI. Really, we're actually not even here.
Let's not say that. There's not remote work at all. There's no one working because it's all AI. No, but it is an interesting and there's been reporting this week about how there seems to be more of a push to get people back to the office, and it's going to be an endless debate. I remember we didn't ask Alex this either, but federal unionized workers were very much against it when the federal government tried to have them come back to the office. But again, it was something that was pretty much unheard of before COVID.
Totally.
And then it became the norm. But I do see the quality of life issues, right? Like, I've had friends who were on that GO train from Hamilton, Toronto for years. And I do think it crushed their soul by the end of there.
Absolutely.
Like it was like you had to be at this train every morning at the same time, ride it for an hour, go to work, ride it for an hour back, then drive from the parking lot to it was 3 hours a day commuting. So there's not a lot of value in that in terms of your mental health.
No, it's I can't imagine tacking an extra 3 or 4 hours onto an already grueling day, as you and I both know.
I mean, these are long days we're putting in here, right? This is hours of, because how many retakes we have to do on this show. But I think too, at the same time, those days when you say it's a Thursday and I'm going to work at home today, because you do have a lot of stuff to get done, and I wake up, the kids are off to school, have a cup of coffee at my desk, and just do the stuff I have to do, and no one stopped by. Like I can't tell how many people stopped by my desk today.
I see it.
And I love the conversations. We're talking journalism, we're talking stories, but that takes up a lot of time too, right?
You're trying to play catch up too.
Yeah. So there's that element of like when you actually do want to sit with your head down and get your work done, I totally see the value of remote work, but you have to be disciplined. You have to be able to stay focused.
I'm all for remote work in the summer, and in the winter I'll come in.
That works. That works. But then you say like you can't get the snow shoveled or something. You're stuck at home.
Fair enough. Okay, tomorrow night on the program, Daryl Fox, brother of Terry, joins us.
Yes, very much looking forward to that. He just finished a bike ride across the country.
Amazing.
Really shadowing his brother's great work. And it must be very emotional. I know from just reading the coverage how emotional it was for him. Yeah. And really, he's his younger brother. So he's the younger brother of a Canadian icon who's really doing his own work to raise money and awareness for cancer research. And just to hear his personal stories will be really something.
Yeah. All right. That's tomorrow night on Closer Look. Daryl Fox, brother of the great Terry, will join us. Closer Look at villagemedia.ca. If you have any questions, comments about the program, we'd love to hear from you. Thanks for joining us tonight. For all of us at Village Media, we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.